Namaste, Jai Bharat. There are many things around us in our society that we just don't understand. We don't easily comprehend many things existing around us as a social structure and also a political structure. One such thing which defies common sense perception and understanding is that the custodians of temple, I'm only talking about wealth, the custodians of wealth of temples are the governments, whereas the mosques and churches and other such establishments belong to the concerned people. But when it comes to Hindus, the temples and the incomes of the temple and the property of the temple are under the custody of the government. This is indeed strange. Why this discrimination? After all these years of independence, why there is still this discrimination going on? There are places where there are boards. There are boards which controls all the temples in the states, or maybe multiple boards which controls the temples in the states, and they carry the revenue of the temple. Let me call it as revenue. What the money is given by the bhakts. They carry all the revenues from the temple. They may appoint people in the temple, not necessarily Hindus. They appoint anyone in the temple, and there are places where in administration non-Hindus are there. Hindus are there. They are non-believers are also there. Look at Kerala. Kerala have got different Devasam boards, if I'm not wrong. One is for the Travancore, and the one is for Cochin, and one must be for the Malabar. These three erstwhile Devasam boards. Since the government is communist government, all the people are communists, and communists by definition should have nothing to do with religion and God. But they are administered because there is income, there is money. They take all the money and they use it in whichever way what they want, and nobody can ask them. Possibly, if there is any possibility, they would even sell the property of temple. But when they try to sell, people object and all those kinds of things happen. So it might be not taking place as easily as must be thought by them. But the situation is miserable. Why the temples are controlled by the government, and why not the churches or the mosques? The question is, let the temples, mosques, or churches, or any place or any places of worship, let the concerned people, faithful, handle it or take care of it or run it. But why should the government intervene with a place of worship? And interestingly, the government should not involve in the place of worship at all, ideally. But they do interfere only with the Hindu and not with non-Hindus. And why this double standard? It has been going on for a long time. Somebody tries to justify it, saying that the British were administering the temple. Of course, if that is the case, I don't know about that history. If the British were administering the temple, they must have had their own nefarious intentions. Whatever, you can speculate or find out. So we are just continuing. Why should we continue even after all these years of Bharat's so-called independence? So this is what makes people feel that we are really not independent, especially from the Hindu paripraksha or Hindu perspective. We forced to, or rather compelled to think that to what extent we are independent in this connection. The places of worship are controlled by the government. And many people have filed cases against this, as I understand, in various courts, and I still do not know what are the outcome of such cases filed. The situation is actually thought-provoking. One should think about it and possibly act about it. What we can do is to spread awareness, and what we can do is to people who are in possession to do things should act and decolonize the temples. The temples are colonized by the governments, and this happens when a non-Hindu government does it. It becomes all the more serious. I've seen or somebody taking oath in the parliament as member, after all these things which he spoke, he expressed one thing: Jai Palestine. What does that man what does that man mean by saying Jai Palestine? What kind of thing? Does his ancestors live in Palestine or what? Or his chacha mama chachara bhai koi rehta udhar? Jai Palestine. As if there is no other place for him to say Jai for. He says Jai Palestine. Very interesting. And what does it try to prove? What does it try to prove? I'm sure that he's making a fool of himself. If he goes to Palestine, they will take 2 votes for him. Or if that is the case, we should ceremoniously send such people to wherever he loves. But let him, if he says Jai Palestine, let him go and live in Palestine. In whichever way they live, this man must be happy with them. This man must be sympathizing with them. So let him go there physically and help them if he so wants. Why should he stay in this place and go and sympathize them? If he really wants to sympathize, let him go to that place and do whatever he can to the people. But don't stand in my parliament and say Jai Palestine. I don't know why that has not been objected to. Anyway, this such things can happen, but the temples are under the control of government. We should think loud about it. Till we meet again, Namaste, Jai Bharat, Jai Shri Ram.